Oh my goodness, the future of the industry, it's so different now. In our time, in Aretha's time, lyrics and music and artists spoke of the time and wrote lyrics about that period. So when we hear lyrics of today, it's talking about the time that we live in. So I'm also a writer, as I said before, and her stories are still the same stories that we have today, but we have to just make it a little broader to reach more younger people and people of all ages, which she did. She touched people. I mean, if you ask a child on the street that's only maybe 10 years old, that you say, oh, you know Aretha Franklin, have you ever heard of Aretha Franklin? They would say, oh yes, I mean, my parents listened to her. Or so I think that her influence on this industry will be always there because she's the queen of soul and will always be the queen of soul.
When I first heard Aretha Franklin, I had already been singing for a while. I grew up, I started singing at a very early age, and I was singing classical music, opera, and I was also doing musical theater and that sort of thing. And my father always played like 60s soul and Motown and stuff like that in the house when I was growing up. And so there was Aretha Franklin in my ear when I was a child, but I kind of got reintroduced to her as a vocalist in my early to mid 20s when I found my passion for soul music. And when I decided that what I wanted to do with the rest of my career was be a soul singer.
Not only did she sing soul music, not only did she perform soul music, but she brought her soul into whatever genre that she was performing. So that was one of the things that I think that we gathered, and we decided, hey, that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that when we go out and we perform, whether it's country music or it's gospel music or it's soul music, R&B, that it touched the souls of the people who were present. And that's what Aretha Franklin did.
When Jerry got a hold of her, he said that he got the vibe of where she was from. She was from the church. She was, you know, a spirited performer. She was all about her emotion and her voice are totally connected. And so when he would produce her, that's where he would have her do her thing, you know. And I got really inspired by that because that's the number one thing for any artist is you have to do your thing. You have to be you. And she did Aretha, you know, and she stood up for herself. She stood up for people. She stood up for women. She stood up for black people. She stood up for everybody. And I just think she was an amazing person, and she will affect music and singing for all eternity.